The coming of the global church was probably first recognized publicly by Archbishop William Temple about 70 years ago. He referred to this idea of world fellowship of Christians as the first great new fact of our era. Today we find that Christianity is no longer just rooted in the West, but we have Christians coming from Africa, Asia, and Latin America. When Edinburgh 1910 took place, the top 10 countries with the highest Christian population were all in the West, with the exception of Brazil. By 2050, the USA will be the only Western nation on that list. So today, the globalization of Christianity is a new fact of the 21st century. Asians, Africans, and Latin Americans are typical representatives of Christians everywhere, not only in the Southern Hemisphere, but also in the West, as we find that there are more Asians and Africans and Latin Americans who have migrated to Europe. So what is the challenge? What does it mean for the future of Christianity? What are new challenges that are represented for those of us who serve in mission leadership? When we speak about the coming of the global church, I think there's a great danger that we tend to generalize. We fall into a form of reductionism. Say, what do we mean by Southern Christianity? Or what do we mean by Northern Christianity? When in reality, when you talk about Asian Christians or African Christians, there's a great diversities of theologies, of complexities of cultures. And so we need to be careful that we don't generalize and reduce Southern and Northern Christianity. Taking Asia, for example, Christianity could be seen as a major force when we think about Philippines, Korea, or even Singapore. Or Christianity could be a significant growing minority, say in a place like India or Malaysia, where I come from. But on the other hand, Christianity is also a real minority in many parts of Asia, where we think about Japan or persecuted minority in Pakistan and in many Muslim countries. So I would suggest that the way to avoid this generalization is to think not so much of Southern Christianity in terms of geographical terms or categories, but to think about cultural forms of Christianity that are greatly diverse. Likewise, we should think not only in terms of the quantitative growth of Christianity in the non-Western world, but to think in terms of the qualitative challenges, in terms of issues such as discipleship, capacity to engage in mission, and especially capacity to think theologically, the challenge of African theology, Latin American theology, and Asian theology. Therefore, I think one of the issue of greatest importance when we think about the coming of the global church is the whole issue of what is the capacity of these new forms of Christianity to reflect theologically. How would Asian Christians think of themselves in engagement with the Asian cultures, Asian religions, and Asian past? Do we just follow Western forms of Christianity and adopt Western theologies without this freedom to reflect contextually and indigenously? And I think this is how these Asian theologies and non-Western theologies, or some people say contextual theologies, develop, could become an issue of great importance, because it will influence the future of Christianity, and it will play out in terms of the future of Christianity even in the Western world. Today, because of globalization, we do have that infrastructure, that opportunity for Asian, African, and Latin American Christians to engage interculturally in one space. And this is happening not only in Asia, Africa, and Latin America, but especially in the West, in Europe, where we find because of migration, because of globalization, there's a greater potential for a local church to be multi-ethnic, to study the Bible together, to grow together as a community of global Christians. Therefore, both from the local, at the level of local church, at a national level, but also at an international level, we do have this new context for the development of a global Christianity. In terms of responding to the coming of the global church, I think mission leadership could be the group of community as representing the church to model new ways of thinking that take into consideration of this new context of the globalization of Christianity, so that the way we do mission, the way we reflect theologically, is that we engage with the thinking of non-Western Christianity as well. Do our sermons reflect that? Do our mission leadership and partnership reflect that? Talking about mission partnership, it is so important that we begin to think of how can we engage with the growing indigenous mission movements coming out of Latin America, Africa, and Asia. There is a great danger that when we talk about partnership, we expect them to join us and adopt our mission structure, our mission DNA and ethos. And in that process, we will suppress this freedom and integrity for non-Western mission movements to flower in their own way and to make their distinct contribution to the work of mission. So we need to have this awareness that partnerships sometimes become a superficial guise of peddling or propagating our Western form or paradigms, Western products of mission, and we expect others to join us.